In the heart of ancient Egypt, during the reign of Pharaoh Akhenaten, the land was filled with prosperity and divine blessings. The Nile flowed generously, the crops were abundant, and the people lived in harmony. Akhenaten was a wise and just ruler, known for his deep spiritual connection with the gods. He had brought years of peace and prosperity to his kingdom, yet something weighed heavily on his mind. For several nights, the pharaoh was haunted by a recurring dream. In this dream, he saw the sands of the desert rise like a storm, swallowing cities, temples, and finally his own palace, leaving nothing but ruins. Each morning, he would wake up in a cold sweat, the vivid images of the dream still lingering in his mind. He couldn't shake off the feeling that the dream was more than just a figment of his imagination. Disturbed by the dream's persistence, Akhenaten decided to consult his trusted advisor and friend, Imhotep. Imhotep was not just a wise man, but also a skilled magician, well-versed in the mysteries of the divine. Upon hearing the pharaoh's dream, Imhotep's face turned serious. He pondered for a moment before speaking, suggesting that the dream might be a prophecy, a warning from the gods themselves. Imhotep advised that they should not take this warning lightly. He suggested a daring plan: to travel to the Temple of Thoth, the god of wisdom, to seek answers and perhaps find a way to avert the impending doom. Akhenaten was initially hesitant, knowing that the journey would be perilous. The temple was located in a remote region, guarded by mystical creatures and filled with traps that had claimed the lives of many adventurers. However, Imhotep reassured him, stating that they had the favor of the gods and were guided by a higher purpose. He prepared magical amulets for their protection and studied celestial maps to guide their journey. Finally, the day of departure arrived. Akhenaten and Imhotep, along with a small group of loyal soldiers, set out on their quest. The pharaoh took one last look at his kingdom, praying that he would return to see it flourish. The journey through the desert was harsh. They faced sandstorms and extreme temperatures, but the magical amulets that Imhotep had prepared shielded them from the worst of the elements. On the seventh day, they reached the outskirts of the Temple of Thoth. The temple was an imposing structure, its grandeur a testament to the god it was dedicated to. As they approached the temple, they noticed that the entrance was guarded by two sphinxes. These were not mere statues, but living creatures, their eyes glowing with divine energy. Imhotep stepped forward and recited an ancient incantation. The sphinxes acknowledged his words with a nod and stepped aside, granting them entry into the temple. The interior of the temple was unlike anything they had ever seen. The walls were adorned with intricate hieroglyphs and celestial symbols, and the air was filled with the scent of exotic incense. They walked through a labyrinth of corridors, each more mysterious than the last. Finally, they reached the inner sanctum, where they discovered an ancient scroll placed on an altar. Imhotep carefully unrolled the scroll and began to read. It contained a ritual to appease the gods and reverse the curse foretold in Akhenaten's dream. However, the ritual required a sacrifice of immense value, something dear to the pharaoh. Akhenaten pondered deeply, contemplating the weight of the decision before him. After much thought, he decided to offer his most prized possession, a golden ankh that had been passed down through generations of his family. It was a symbol of life and prosperity, and he hoped it would be enough to appease the gods. Imhotep prepared the altar, placing the golden ankh at its center. He began chanting incantations, his voice echoing through the temple chambers. Akhenaten joined in the chant, his voice harmonizing with Imhotep's. The walls of the temple began to shake, and the golden ankh started to glow with a divine light. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the temple, declaring that the sacrifice had been accepted and that the curse had been lifted. The voice thanked them for their bravery and wisdom. Overwhelmed with relief and gratitude, Akhenaten and Imhotep fell to their knees, offering their thanks to Thoth and the gods for their mercy and guidance. They carefully rolled up the ancient scroll and placed it back on the altar, taking one last look at the temple's grandeur before making their way back to the entrance. As they exited the temple, the sphinxes nodded in approval, as if acknowledging that they had proven themselves worthy of the gods' favor. The journey back to their kingdom was surprisingly smooth. It was as if the land itself was celebrating their success, guiding them safely home. Upon their return, Akhenaten and Imhotep were greeted with cheers and celebrations. The people had missed their pharaoh and were eager to hear tales of their adventure. Akhenaten addressed his people, recounting their perilous journey and the divine intervention that had saved them. He praised Imhotep for his wisdom and bravery, declaring him a hero of the kingdom. Imhotep, humbled by the pharaoh's words, reminded the people that it was their collective faith and unity that had truly saved the day. He encouraged them to continue living in harmony, respecting the gods and the land. The kingdom returned to its state of peace and prosperity, but with a newfound respect for the divine. Temples were built in honor of Thoth, and the tale of Akhenaten and Imhotep became a legend passed down through generations. Akhenaten continued to rule wisely, but he never forgot the lesson he had learned. He often visited the Temple of Thoth, offering his thanks and seeking wisdom. Imhotep, now a revered sage, dedicated his life to studying the divine and the mysteries of the universe. He became a mentor to young scholars, passing on his knowledge and wisdom. The golden ankh that had been sacrificed was never recovered, but its absence was not mourned. It had served its purpose, becoming a symbol of the kingdom's unity and divine favor. Years later, Akhenaten passed away, but his legacy lived on. He was remembered as a wise and just ruler, a man who had defied destiny to save his people. Imhotep lived to a ripe old age, his final days spent in peaceful contemplation. He was buried next to Akhenaten, the two friends united in death as they had been in life. The kingdom continued to flourish, its people living in peace and prosperity. The tale of Akhenaten and Imhotep became a cornerstone of their culture, a story told to inspire and guide future generations. As for the Temple of Thoth, it remained a place of pilgrimage, its mysteries attracting scholars and adventurers from far and wide. But none could replicate the feat achieved by Akhenaten and Imhotep. The ancient scroll they had discovered was studied by scholars, its contents debated and analyzed. But its true power was acknowledged to be beyond human understanding, a divine secret meant only for the chosen. And so, the sands of the desert continued to shift, but the kingdom remained, a testament to the bravery and wisdom of its rulers. The gods looked down in favor, their blessings ensuring that the land would prosper for generations to come. In the end, the dream that had once haunted Akhenaten became a distant memory, a reminder of the trials they had overcome. The people lived on, their lives a tapestry of joys and sorrows, but always under the watchful eyes of the gods. The Nile continued to flow, its waters nurturing the land and its people. Festivals were held in honor of the gods, and the people danced and sang, their hearts filled with joy and gratitude. Children grew up hearing the tale of their brave pharaoh and his wise advisor, their imaginations filled with dreams of adventure and glory. The soldiers who had accompanied Akhenaten and Imhotep were honored as heroes, their names inscribed in the annals of history. The magical amulets that Imhotep had created were preserved as sacred relics, their powers a subject of awe and wonder. And so the story of Akhenaten and Imhotep became a timeless legend, a tale of courage, wisdom, and divine intervention, forever etched in the sands of time.